Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. This is the Peacemaker podcast, a Full Circle Network podcast. If you're listening on YouTube or wherever else Marcos is going to put this up, we're going to be talking about the first 3 episodes of Peacemaker today. I'm joined by Marcos Melendez, editor at Full Circle Cinema.
Hey, what's up? We're going to be going all in-depth spoilers, so be sure to watch these episodes first.
And also joining us today for this episode is Jacob Campbell, the lead news writer at Full Circle Cinema.
What's up, guys? Really glad to be doing this. Haven't recorded a podcast with everyone here in a while, so very excited to talk about Peacemaker today.
Yeah, I know. It's been a while for all of us, I think. I mean, I said Stargirl was going to be my last podcast ever, but here I am, you know. Me and Marcos are back at it. Another DC show, another HBO Max original.
Yeah, hopefully this one, here.
Yeah, hopefully this one doesn't get moved to the CW, right? Because I don't think they could afford this. Yeah, so I think we're just going to talk about the episodes in order. So we'll start with the first episode, obviously, A Whole New World, but world like WHIRL, written and directed by James Gunn. So what are your initial thoughts on the episode, Marcos?
I thought that just the first few minutes were actually pretty hilarious. They had already released that one clip with him, Peacemaker, just talking to the janitor, leaving trying to leave the hospital, and it was even funnier just watching it within context. And I thought it was really good to set up. It was very obvious of what they're gonna do, and he was not gonna be scot-free or whatnot. But I thought it was a really good opening. I thought that the whole plot is pretty well set up. I think that the team that we saw in the Suicide Squad, of course, and all that is continuing on here. And I thought the one interesting thing that I thought was a little weird was that they said that Peacemaker only had one injury from the thing falling on him, even though he looked almost dead in that post-credit scene. And he said, "Oh yeah, it's only his clavicle." But other than that, I thought it's a good continuation of something like we just saw in theaters. So I think that's a pretty cool thing. It's definitely new for the DCEU.
Yeah. What about you, Jacob? What do you think of A Whole New World?
Oh, dude, I love the episode. It was great. I really like how it just picks up right from Suicide Squad. It even does the previously on the Suicide Squad. It made it feel like it was part of that whole universe and just leads right into it. I was also a big fan of the interaction between Peacemaker and the janitor in it. The banter in the show is really well done. It just feels like very natural conversations between everyone, and it just flows very well.
Yeah, it was a very interesting episode. Like you guys said, the continuation, the continuity they're keeping in with the character with Christopher Smith, Peacemaker. This show might as well could be called the Suicide Squad 2 in a sense. It feels a lot more. We're getting more of the same from what we got from the Suicide Squad, but in a good way. We're getting more development for a certain member. It's just one returning member from the team that was in Corto Maltese, right? But we got the returning cast of Steve Agee as John Economos and Jennifer Holland as Amelia Harcourt, and a little surprise appearance from this is a spoiler podcast, so spoilers. A little surprise appearance from Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. Were you guys expecting her to see her in this episode?
I to be honest, I thought we were gonna see her in person and not just on a FaceTime. But it made sense, and you can I really knew that you kind of guessed oh yeah, she's gonna be Amanda Waller's daughter, and that's at the very least that's taken care of right away. That's kind of a big thing throughout the show.
Yeah, Marcos is referring to Danielle Brooks as Leota Adebayo, one of the new members of the team. Yes, amazing. What did you think, Jacob, of the surprise cameo?
Unfortunately, I had the cameo spoiled already for me, but I was still really curious how they were going to do it and in what context she would be in it. If it was just going to be she was running the operation or something more. But I really like that the reveal about her character and Adebayo's character, and that she is her daughter. I didn't expect that. I didn't know she was going to have that close a relation to the squad. So that was a cool reveal for me. Also, it was kind of nice that it gave it shows another side of Waller's character. So we've never seen her act like she does in the call with her daughter.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah, because this is her daughter. Adebayo's playing, little Waller Jr., but she's nothing like her mother, which is a very interesting thing. And the fact that the rest of the team that's a part of Project Butterfly is what they're called, that they don't know that she's Waller's kid. But anyways, besides the introduction of the new team, we also get a look into Christopher Smith's personal life, right? We get to see John Cena outside of the toilet bowl helmet for a little bit after the events of the Suicide Squad. He killed Rick Flag. He tried to kill Bloodsport Ratcatcher. He couldn't. He survived, like Marco said, with barely any injuries, which is weird. And then we get to see him meet with his father, played by the amazing Robert Patrick, who plays Agee Smith, Christopher Smith's father. What did you guys think of the relationship dynamic in the first episode with Chris and his father?
I think James Gunn really likes having plots revolve around dads, but I think he does do something different here. Like, I think in the Guardians films we do get imperfect dads, but this one's like he's a straight up evil, and Christopher is just really in denial about it. And I think something that's really, like, I don't know, it's gonna be off putting to some people, but like they go all out with how racist he is. And I think it works within the show. I think it works, and I think it works with the type of character Peacemaker is. And I think with what I feel like they're trying to do with his arc, it makes sense to have like that absolute extreme to be like his dad.
Oh yeah, it feels like a lot of a meta commentary surrounding, like, before the Suicide Squad came out, all the memes and how people would joke about Peacemaker, about how he's far right or alt right, and I feel like they sort of acknowledge that in the show big time.
Yeah, this show definitely goes head on with all that, and it goes, we're just gonna deal with it, and that's gonna be part of that character, and they're just not gonna like ignore it or act like it's something small about his character.
What'd you think of what's his name? Auggie. What'd you think of Robert Patrick as Auggie, Jacob?
Oh, I was gonna say he's really good. The character itself, really bad person. But he plays that asshole.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, I want to clarify that. He plays that asshole.
What are reviews on Nazis, really well. Jacob?
No, honestly, I just he plays that like evil, just terrible dad really well. And it is kind of cool. It gives us another like insight into Peacemaker that we didn't get in Suicide Squad. We know his dad was an ass to him, and that he is the reason he is the way he is today. So kind of seeing those interactions between them, and you still see Peacemaker trying to get his dad's approval of everything he's doing, even though he knows his dad won't ever approve, won't ever be proud of him. Yeah. It does make you feel for Peacemaker in a way I didn't expect.
Yeah, it provides good sympathy for sure.
Yeah, like going into the show, I was really excited for the show because I loved Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad, but I didn't know how they were going to make me care about him in a way after everything he did in the Suicide Squad, after killing Rick Flag. But like right away, they really did make me care for him. I was like, damn, his dad is a jerk to him.
Look, they made it make sense. Like, in order to set up this kind of character, what would in reality make sense? His father's probably not right?
Yeah.
It connects.
It was done really well.
And something that's, like, I don't know, kind of underrated, low key. Like, I don't think I've really mentioned it to you guys. Like, the neighbors is so funny, even though it's just small little interactions. Like, happen. This is so funny. I don't know why.
Like the first episode when he goes up to the door and the guy's just making fun of him, and he's like, they get the little argument they have is so funny.
It's sort of like a ear boots on the ground sort of approach to the DC extended universe.
Yeah,
we've got a lot of larger than life stuff.
Guys see these heroes,
Yeah, random guys that live in the DC universe and know about Batman and Superman. It's a neat little addition that James Gunn did when writing the series, which I like a lot. There's a really funny callback when Chris is having lunch with his father Agee, and he's basically recounting what happens in the Suicide Squad, and he's making fun of Bloodsport. I thought that scene was hilarious because they take this intimate moment in the film where it looks like, like Chris sort of like finds, a common ground with Bloodsport, but then he just uses it later on to just make fun of him to try to get his father's approval. But then ends up blowing up in his face when he asks if that's the guy who shot him.
Exactly.
It's a really funny moment.
It's good stuff.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but then later on in the episode, after he's getting reacquainted back into his hometown, he meets up with the rest of the team of Project Butterfly, right? Which has, like we said before, John Economos, played by Steve Agee, and Jennifer Holland as Amelia Harcourt, and the new character Clemson Murn. What do you guys think of the new leader of this project, sort of like the new Amanda Waller in this case?
I think there's more than meets the eye, obviously, but I think that he's cool. I do like the actor. I do like what he has within the show. I don't think he has like a ton in terms of backstory, in terms of like what he brings for like his own character arc per se. And it does. I think Gunn definitely puts like emphasis on the rest of the members. But I think he's cool. I think definitely probably a better leader than Amanda Waller, but you know.
Yeah, I really don't want to butcher his actor name, so I'm figuring out how to pronounce it while you guys talk about it. Jacob, what did you think of Clemson Murn?
Oh, I really liked his character when he in those first few episodes I watched. It's kind of like comparing to Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller doesn't feel approachable at all, and she is that kind of she's going to kill you. But with like his character, he definitely has that he's going to kill you vibe, but he still feels like a cool guy. Like in those first few episodes when he's working with the team and they're interacting, and he starts to open up a little bit. I really enjoyed his character and how that growth there and all them interacting. I want to see more of him in the next few episodes, and I'm very excited to see because I haven't watched the rest of the episodes. I only watched up to episode 3 so far,
Right.
but I really enjoyed everything he was doing there.
Yeah, he's definitely an incredible actor from what I've seen of him so far.
Yeah.
James Gunn made a great choice. I can't wait to see him in Volume 3 since he's in that now too.
Oh yeah,
For Marvel.
Yeah.
But
I can definitely understand why you got him for Volume 3 because he was great in this.
they're really seeming to develop a lot of the side characters in Suicide Squad, namely Economos and Harcourt. What did you guys think of those two now, sort of working much closer to Peacemaker than they did in the film?
First question, like I'm not sure. I haven't actually looked this up. There aren't characters from the comics, right? They're just like original creations.
I know John Economos is in the comics. He's the warden of Belle Reve. I don't know about Harcourt.
I don't think she is. Let me.
Other
double
kids,
check
I
real
think
quick.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, in terms of like characters themselves, are pretty original. I do think the one thing probably in terms of the Suicide Squad movie that I felt was, although it was funny, I felt like kind of distraction was that team. And this might be like a bit of a hot take, but I think within the show it does good enough job to set them up as like this team behind Peacemaker, and it kind of makes sense. And they said I think it's good enough reason to set up why they're with Peacemaker after what they do to Amanda is kind of like their punishment. And I think they have good enough reason, and I like the characters enough.
Yeah, I like them too. Steve Aggie's funny. He's always been a funny guy. He was pretty funny in the Suicide Squad. He doesn't bring much in terms of story and character to the film, like you mentioned, but here I feel like he's gonna have a much more fleshed out role and be able to grow more as a character. Same with Harcourt, who's also given development and sort of given like some sort of chemistry with Peacemaker, as toxic as it may be. That scene where he's in the bar with them, with her, and when he goes to eat with the whole team, and given his classified dossier on Project Butterfly, he's a very he's very childish
crude.
about
He's
his
very
intentions.
crude. Like it's
Oh,
easy
yeah.
to clear.
It's like
The whole humor in the show is crude. Just from the first episode, you could tell like
Yeah.
they're turning up to 11 what you saw in the Suicide Squad.
And I think it better in this show is it's crude in a way that speaks to how the characters are, and not just to be crude.
Yeah,
And it's trying to say something. And like I think every time Peacemaker's crude, they're always trying to reflect on that almost every time.
yeah. He sort of uses it as like bravado, sort of like as a cover for how vulnerable he really feels. They're trying to add a vulnerability to the character. I think is like what they're trying to do with this show.
Yeah, and you can definitely see that the way it clashes with with the crudeness of it. It really does work with the character. Like you said, he has that kind of childness about him, where he doesn't take it as seriously as they are in his own way. Like they're treating it like a special ops mission. He's treating it as, oh my gosh, I'm a superhero in my own way. I'm going to do what I want. And that kind of clash between their characters is really cool. That I'd like to see that develop. But especially with Harcourt and Economos, the banter, like I mentioned earlier, is really good between all the characters. They all just really work well off of each other.
Yeah, and so after he meets with the team, it's a very casual setting, and then after that, Peacemaker goes off with his pet eagle, Eagly, another James Gunn CGI character staple. How do you guys feel about Eagly so far, just from the first episode? It's his Peacemaker sidekick.
He might be my favorite DC character, to be honest with you. Just when they first showed him in like the trailers and some of the clips, I was like, "Oh, this is hilarious! He has a pet eagle." But like watching him interact with Eagly in the show is some of the funny shit. Like in the garage when Eagly hugs him, I was dying. I could not stop laughing at that. And just the way it's so funny. He's got a pet eagle. It's like it's tame. It's the funniest
It's
shit.
the best, and
It
it acts like a
funny.
human. It's
Yes.
like it's great.
It's
But
so
then
funny.
Peacemaker, having just gotten out of prison and almost dying in Corto Maltese, he does what any sensible superhero would do, and he goes to go look for some action. Right?
Yeah.
He sort of needs to satisfy his basic instincts and pleasures.
So yeah, he has sex with this one girl at the bar, right?
The one bit where it's like when he's talking to Harcourt and he's like, "I've been in jail for 4 years. I haven't been with a woman." I was like, that was so funny the way he like stuttered. He's
So
like,
he had to correct himself.
that was funny as hell.
He's just so irreverent about everything. Like she calls him out on it. Jennifer Holland's character Harcourt calls it out on her. Like, you're just trying to have sex with me, and he doesn't even try to excuse it or deny it. He's just like, hey, I've been in prison a long time, okay?
Yeah. It's like he says it all like it makes perfect sense. He's like, obviously, and she's like, what the fuck?
So she leaves, and he goes with some random woman from a bar. And what follows after that is like one of the most emotionally vulnerable scenes John Cena's done in his career, I think, when he puts on a vinyl and starts emotionally singing and dancing to I Don't Love You Anymore by the Choir Boys. What do you guys think of that scene? Did you think it felt out of place, or do you think like it went well with it?
It worked so well for this show. And I think John Cena is this character. He does it so well. Like when James Gunn had posted before that there was like a 3-minute scene of John Cena dancing in his underwear singing, I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to see the context behind it. And the context behind it was great. It was fantastic for the show and the character. And I was like, damn, I really do feel for Peacemaker. Why do I feel for Peacemaker?
I think something that the show does well is like taking these problems he has that I think to a lot of people, to like regular people, are like kind of dumb, but make it seem really important to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like that within that scene, I thought just as I felt like it was about to outstay its welcome, then like the action starts, and I felt like it was like the best action scene. I think it was better than anything in the Suicide Squad.
Very bold take, Marcos. I'll yell about that later when we stop recording. But yeah, James Gunn seems to really like making characters have emotional ties to music, and sort of venting their feelings and who they really are through music. He seems to be a big fan of that, both in this and Guardians of the Galaxy. The Suicide Squad, not so much, but Gunn is starting to show a little bit more of what he's comfortable with writing, and he's good at it, so that's good for him. But things take a turn after that small scene of vulnerability when the woman he slept with starts attacking him with superhuman-like agility and strength and nearly kills him. And what Marco says, it was an incredible action scene. The action in this series is great. We'll talk about it more in the next couple episodes we get to right now. But it ends on a pretty bloody note, right? It ends with a pretty crazy cliffhanger. What do you guys think of that unexpected turn of events?
Well, when the whole scene like started where she attacked him, I at first didn't know what the whole Project Butterfly was and what it was going to mean for the show. So I just thought she was like maybe some kind of assassin that got to him or something like in that way. But then when she started jumping around, just move like the way she was moving, I was like, oh, it's a comic book show. This is gonna get alien and freaky, real fast. And the fight scene was really good between Peacemaker and the girl. It felt
it was visceral.
It was very real. It was kind of like the Netflix Marvel shows where it's like it felt like a brutal fight where it was like just how actual people would fight.
Yeah, and he went like he gets cut up like a million times in that scene.
Yeah, it was like, oh, this is nuts. Like he was just taking hit after hit. But it was really well done, and the ending where he just jumps out of the building I thought it was really funny that he's like, oh dude, I'll survive this, and he keeps hitting it, like destroying his clavicle,
and he does this so much
more
in the next episode.
Every time, dude, like he always lands on it.
And the way it ends with him getting his helmet from his car and activating like the ability it has, because apparently this episode also shows us Peacemaker has a bunch of helmets. It's all supplied by his racist dad
Mm-hmm.
in this weird quantum space he has, or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
in his house. So he has a bunch of different Peacemaker helmets. He gets one, and he takes it with him that night, which luckily he did, or else he would have died.
Yeah.
And then he activates it, and this woman this superhuman woman just gets blown into smithereens, and it's the most violent thing ever. And the way that first episode ends, it just sets that tone like, hey, if you like the Suicide Squad, you're gonna love this, you know?
Yeah, it is nuts. I love the helmet bits. Kind of like a bit of a cutaway. Every episode, the way it ends with like a split second or like a cut scene from earlier in the show is really funny to me. And the bit with his dad where he's in the cave and he's talking about, or like his separate room, he's talking about the different helmets. And he goes, yeah, this one here, this will give you scabies. He's like, why would I want scabies? Challenge yourself. I was dying at that for like 5 straight minutes because I just could not stop. It was so funny. And the humor in the show is it's really crude, but it's really funny, and I love it.
You know what? We need to talk about the theme song. We didn't even talk about that.
Oh, yes. Oh my god, I love it. It's so dumb. Like, not dumb, but it's so random, and I love it. It's it's James Gunn. It's great.
Peacemaker and the entire cast dancing to "Do You Want to Taste It" by Wigwam. Like, come on.
It's so good.
It's incredible. That's how the first episode ends. And so, obviously the second episode, Best Friends, Forever. Also written. All the first 3 episodes, by the way, are written and directed by James Gunn. He wrote and directed all the episodes, and he directed these first 3. So the second episode takes place immediately after. It's a little bit slower than the first episode. The first episode had a bunch of exciting setup. And
this one has this kind of like stays a while in like certain parts.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah, most of it, the first like quarter of the episode is like him trying to escape the situation he just put himself in because he's he should be in prison. That's the thing. Like he's under this shady government deal. He's out of prison, but not the rest of the world. The public doesn't know that. So when there's cops, he can't be caught. So he's here at this apartment complex of this woman he just blew up, who they don't know was probably, there's something going on with her because she had abilities and tried to kill him, but no one else knows that. So he has to get out of there. What'd you guys think of that whole, I think, a little bit of an overlong sequence of him trying to escape the apartment complex?
I think the good moments are really good. I think that like him like trying to take everything in the little blanket was really funny. And I thought that the stuff with the couple was good, but I felt like it kind of stayed there for like 20 minutes.
It overstays its welcome a little bit, I think.
When he starts falling and stuff, that also takes a while. Like I don't know why it took that long for him to fall, and like they take their sweet time. I feel like at certain parts where I think any other show would have just like just been done with it like in 1 minute.
Yeah, there's a lot of physical comedy. A lot of shows would have cut away, I think. Like, it shows him running off or something, and then it cuts away to him, back safe in his house
funny,
or something.
But I felt like in terms of pacing overall, it kind of like slows things down.
Yeah, I agree. I think it went all the way to like 20 minutes into the episode. He was still just getting out of the hotel, which it did feel a little overlong. And I agree with you. There were moments where it's like when he's falling and he's jumping from balcony to balcony. It kind of does he had a whole building dropped on him in the Suicide Squad, and he walked away with like a broken clavicle. But he's like he's struggling to jump off these balconies. He is fighting for his life on that last one.
And every fall looks like it hurts so much.
Yes, every single one. I was like, okay, this man's gonna die on this second balcony every time. When he jumped from the one to the other one, he knocked his head, and like everyone felt it. I was like, damn. But he is fighting for his life to get out of that building. There were good moments. I thought it was hilarious that after he's blown up this woman, he goes back to her apartment to get his stuff and also steal all of her vinyl, and all of her CDs.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, he's like, and he's talking to Harcourt. He's like, I got to get all the important stuff. He's just stealing all her shit.
He has the worst priorities.
It's so fun, but in his head is like, I know he's thinking this needs to be done. And you brought up a minute ago, Marcos, with the couple. I thought that interaction was really funny. I didn't see it going that way at all, where the wife just starts hitting on him in front of the husband. That was hilarious. And is so funny.
So Peacemaker's trying to escape the apartment complex. There's cops on him, where we're introduced to Annie Chang as Detective Sophie Song and Christopher Heyerdahl as Captain Locke. Those two recurring investigators sort of on Peacemaker's tail after this whole apartment incident at the end of the first episode. So Peacemaker's trying to escape, right? He gets into this couple's apartment, and it's the most it's the most casual, like, hostage situation ever, where, like, he's not aggressive towards them, and then they're not, actively trying to escape him. They're just like, what are you doing in my apartment? He's like, I have to tie you up, I'm sorry. And it's just the funniest thing, like Jacob said. It was a very hilarious interaction. But he gets out of there, and then he sort of, like, his car's there still because he has to leave his car, and he left his fingerprints there on the scene and everywhere. So Clemson Murn, the leader of Project Butterfly, he tells John Economos to frame someone else, right? To change it in the system that it's someone else's car and someone else's fingerprints. And in the spur of the moment, under this pressure, John Economos chooses Peacemaker's father, Agee Smith, to be the one to frame.
Just
for
so
what
funny.
happened.
It's a great idea, to be honest.
So fucking funny.
Yeah.
What
did you guys think of that little plot turn right there? Subplot turn, I should say.
That was funny shit. I was like, "Why everyone you could do this? Why did you do his dad? You don't want them to know Peacemaker is out of prison and doing this this covert mission." You're like, what if we frame his dad? This is the perfect plan. And I thought it was a really cool way to kind of get him involved, get the father more involved with the story directly. But I was like, why would you do that? And then Murn's reaction to it is like, I feel like everyone was reacting. It's like, why would you frame his father? We're trying to get him to trust us. Why did you frame his father for this murder? What the hell? Harcourt, Economos is just genuine, frustration and be like, I don't know. I did some cool shit here. I feel like that's a proud moment. It's like, it was funny as hell.
Yeah, I like the moment. I think they pull it off well. Is it believable? I don't think it is at all. Like, I don't really think that would have, like, that's really, like, the only way he could have done that in the spur of the moment. But I think that they pull it off. It does set up a good like setup for his father to kind of be part of the story now.
Yeah, they managed to weave the A plot and the B plot together pretty good, I think, with that, because the subplot of his father is sort of completely different from what Peacemaker's doing with Project Butterfly, and they're able to bring it together in this episode by framing Agee for what Peacemaker's doing, which I thought was funny. And we get more camaraderie and more banter between the team after this when Peacemaker escapes and they find out that he left his classified Black Ops government dossier with this woman he was having sex with. He just left it there for her to read, thinking that it would be safer with him than in his car, which it turns out was obviously not the case, which I thought was funny. What do you guys think of, like, the banner? Do you think James Gunn's writing is starting to wear on you at this point with how he writes his character's banner, or do you think he's stronger?
No, I loved it. I thought it was. Oh, sorry, Marcus. If you want to go,
you can go.
that's fine. Perfect. Good. Love to see it. No, I loved it. It was great. Like the whole interaction went after they got back from the hotel, and they're just like trying to figure out, like, how did this dossier get out? How did this information leak? And they're just shitting on Economos the whole time, and as Peacemaker's just berating him, like making fun of his hair, and they're just like, yeah, it makes sense that you'd like this information, that you'd mess up. He's like, I don't. It's just, the way they all, it feels really natural. The way they banter back and forth is really well done, and I think James Gunn has always been really good at making the conversations feel real and getting you involved and just following along with what's going there. So I really thought it was done well.
I mean, I think the banter in this show is something I feel like his writing, and this is just my personal opinion, is like, I think since Volume 2, I think he throws a lot of jokes instead of consistently good ones. And with his banter, I felt like it got a little, like, repetitive, I think, in Volume 2, and there's a little bit of the Suicide Squad. I feel like here it's a lot more consistent. I feel like having that, like, this tight-knit group of people, I feel like their banter with each other just works. And I think it's definitely also because of the performances. I think they really pull it off. I think that, like, they're a little, every time they make a little comment, you think it wouldn't be funny, but, like, it is funny. And, like, just the way that they, like, even their mannerisms kind of just work. It just helps everything. And I feel like in terms of that type of writing, it's more consistent in this show. than I think it's been in a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like the setting helps a lot too, right? Because it's like it feels like almost like a workplace comedy, sort of in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because these guys, they're not like friends outside of work. They didn't know each other outside of what it is that they do, which is kill people for the government, for the betterment of the world, supposedly. So they're all together here, working together like a workplace. It feels like a job. It feels like a 9 to 5, but the stakes are so much higher, And I think that's what makes it really funny too. So, we learn more about Project Butterfly here when they're given a target to kill, right? Which is a governor who has a
U.S. senator.
family. Yeah. Or a senator, yes. A senator. And that's where we go into like the third episode, right? Could someone remind me how Best Friends for Never ends?
We missed a little bit. This
right.
one also introduced Vigilante into it.
Yes, Freddie Stroma.
We got.
Yes.
Yeah, she was great in this. Like when after we finish up at the base in the HQ, Peacemaker goes home and just starts crying to himself.
Yes.
Which I was like, damn it, I feel for Peacemaker.
Another vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
Like scattering them per each episode.
I didn't see that coming at all. I thought he was just going to listen to music, and he just sits there crying. He's like, nobody likes me. I don't have any friends.
He says Colonel Flag was right, and he says Peacemaker, I'm a joke.
He's like, what a joke. I was like, damn, dude, it's so well done. And he's just sitting there crying. And Vigilante's just watching him cry from his window, which their interaction was funny, where he's like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you watching me? You're being weird.
Like Peacemaker's so afraid of his own emotions and showing them that he lies to Vigilante, saying that he was exercising his face muscles.
That's so funny. And
Vigilante believes him. He just takes it at face value and says that he should start doing his face exercises.
Which already shows you what kind of character Vigilante is. We're like, okay, cool, this guy also isn't right in the head. None of these dudes are right in the head. And so their conversation in his trailer where he's talking about, he's like, I'm kind of tired of killing people, dude. And he's like, do you think I like killing women, children, and people for doing bad things? Yeah, I love it. I was like, all right, cool. He's a crazy person. He's not.
What you guys think about Marcos? What do you think about Freddie Stroma as Adrian Chase?
I told you this, but I was really surprised the fact that he wasn't like the first choice, or like he was even the original casting. I forgot who it was. But I think it was quite a bit older actor. It was an older actor. Definitely a different vibe from what I think this guy gives off. So I don't know, like what was the original intention of the character, but in terms of what Freddie Stroma does, I think the character is really interesting because he is that like he's like the extreme version of Peacemaker, but like in a different way. Like sometimes in different ways. I feel like he's like super woke sometimes, and I feel like he's super like on the note, on like on the pulse of what's right in the world, right? What's just, and then sometimes he'll just be completely off, and like in that moment where he goes, I would have shot you both if you had smoked that like a few years ago.
Yeah, it's like,
but then later on he'll say something that's like just and makes sense, and that Peacemaker doesn't even understand. And like I felt like that was really interesting. That in terms of like this making him like this really, really like just his morals be absolutely like just off the rails, but at the same time be really likable and like really weirdly funny. I feel like everyone's funny in the show, but he's so weirdly funny that no one is really close to the vibes that he gives off.
He's strangely charming despite being a psychopath. I think. I found out, Marcos, I looked it up, like you said, that he was recast. Chris Conrad was going to play Vigilante.
Exactly, like I don't know how that...
And he filmed 5 episodes, apparently.
I can't picture him at all as Vigilante in this at all.
He filmed 5 episodes before leaving and getting recast, which is really interesting too. So Freddie Stroma does a fantastic job, I think. He's so nonchalant about his acts of violence. You could see why he got along with Peacemaker, but now Peacemaker's sort of having a crisis of faith after what happened in Corto Maltese, I think. So now there's only one unhinged killer on their side. Peacemaker's only slightly unhinged.
Yeah.
And James Gunn's doing that thing again where he takes a character and literally only uses the name, because the Vigilante in the comics is obviously nothing like this. Vigilante in the comics is a district attorney, I think, yes, and he's got superpowers, right? Who he can heal really quick or something like that. And this Adrian Chase is just a bus boy, and he's just a regular guy that just happens to be a Peacemaker fanboy. What do you guys think about James Gunn taking characters only in name? Do you think that helps or hinders the show?
I felt like it usually helps when like the character's really unknown. This character I kind of knew about, and like even though it would have been cool if he had powers, I think like what he does with the character is so good that like are you really gonna blame him for doing this?
For me, it's like it really, like I said, it really does depend on the character. Where it's like if there's like a strict like there's a strict canon behind it where it's kind of expected. But I think when you do have lesser known characters where it's like with like Peacemaker, when James Gunn decided he was going to use Peacemaker, I don't think anyone was like, "Oh my God, Peacemaker! Finally, someone's using him." It's like no, you can. It's like nobody was like, "This is my moment. This is my superhero moment." It's like you can do whatever you want with them, and it does make it more interesting. So when you just follow the comics and the characters exactly as they are, it's kind of boring and predictable. So getting to do whatever you want with them, it adds a little element of surprise and just an excitement to the story, which I feel like works really well here with the Vigilante. Because like you said, in the comics, he's not like this. I didn't really watch all of Arrow, so I don't know if he was like this in Arrow. But
I mean, the show wasn't very good, so it probably wasn't very good.
Ooh, Jackson's not here. We're good. Jackson's not here. He won't listen this far.
Our editor-in-chief isn't here, and I doubt he'll listen to this podcast, so he won't hear us slandering Vigilante there. But there was Vigilante in the CW show Arrow, and as much as I love that show, that Vigilante was absolutely not good. Cool costume, but not that intriguing.
But no, the Vigilante in the show is great. I really like what they do with this character.
Anything else happens in the second episode here? I totally forgot.
I can't remember. How does this one end?
The second episode.
Because I watched like all. I binged all three together. I know it ends with.
I watched all 7 episodes, and now it's biting me in the ass because
that's why
I can't separate them. It's like a 7-hour movie for me.
Yeah, that's one thing. I kind of like that you said it. It does feel like the series really does work as one giant movie. It feels like a movie the way it's like shot and everything. It's really well done.
I had this treat drafted with what I thought like my overall thoughts was like. I felt it feels like an episode of Doom Patrol, but like into a season.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, the way it's stretched out and the way it's
James Gunn really is surprisingly comfortable for episodic television, even though this is his first foray into it, which is really impressive. I think he does a good job cohesively telling a story through one season, 8 episodes. So let's just say, okay, Peacemaker's given the assignment in Best Friends Forever, right? We're introduced to Project Butterfly's first kill on their list, which we said, right? You said he was a senator. Yes. And that's the main focus of the third episode, Better Goff Dead.
Yeah.
Which is the name of the senator, I think, if I remember correctly. Yes, Goff. Oh, wait, I just remembered something. Okay, that's for later episodes. But anyways, what do you guys think of overall thoughts? Third episode, last episode we're talking about this podcast, Better Goff Dead.
I really liked this episode. For just to start off, you really do like already 3 episodes in, you see how well the team's starting to like mesh and work together, and I feel like they're starting to like each other a little bit more than they did when they first started, even though it's just been a little bit of time. Like on the way to the mission to go kill the senator, where they're just kind of talking on the bus going through the plan. The banter, I keep saying banter a lot, but the way they all just talk about what they're doing and they just kind of joke back and forth is really well done, and it's they're really starting to mesh better, and it feels more natural as they talk.
And there's also the introduction of Judo Master in this episode, correct?
Yes.
Right? So this is Judo Masters towards like the second half of the episode,
Yeah, where they fight him in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I as you said, like once again, the banter definitely carries this episode up in that point when they do fight and there's some action.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was important to show that like Peacemaker was struggling with shooting this family, even when it was super clear that it was too late for them and they're already taken over.
We're given an idea of what Project Butterfly is in this episode. It's finally like truly revealed. We were wondering in the first episode after that superhuman attack on Peacemaker, and then we're shown, like this senator, he's compromised somehow, so Peacemaker needs to take him out, and Peacemaker doesn't have a problem with that. He'd do that. But then he finds out that the senator's family, which looks like kids, they may be compromised too, and Peacemaker may have to kill some children. And, this is a famous quoted line from Suicide Squad already, where he says, "I cherish peace with all my heart. I don't care how many men, women, and children I have to kill to get
Yeah,
it."
Harcourt
Right?
repeats it. I don't know why they had to repeat it, but
They have
even
them
though
repeated a lot in the show.
it was really obvious.
But it's funny because it sort of becomes this weird like psychoanalysis of Peacemaker, Christopher Smith, and John Cena portrays it really well because he starts projecting. He doesn't want to admit to himself that he's scared, so he like complains that he can't use a sniper because it doesn't have his Dove of Peace on it. Like he always has all his guns and weapons engraved with the Dove of Peace, so he's like, I can't do it. I don't have my Dove of Peace, and so he draws it on with a Sharpie, and it looks like a ghost, which is really funny. But there's more levels of vulnerability shown between him and Harcourt. Him and her get a moment when they're scouting, the senator's house while they're waiting for him to show up. They get a shared moment of vulnerability between each other where they talk. But what do you guys think of Harcourt, Jennifer Holland in the show? She gets a little bit more to do in this episode with Peacemaker.
Oh, she was great. Her and Peacemaker waiting to kill the senator while they're sitting outside. It was really. Like I said earlier, it feels like they're starting to like each other a little bit more, and they are starting to like feel like a team and act like a team. The way they just kind of are talking about their lives and why they're here and how they got to where they are now. You see that she's becoming more of a character. Like we kind of talked about earlier, but in Suicide Squad, her and the rest of that behind the scenes stuff, it just felt like that, just the behind the scenes. But now they're becoming more developed, and it's kind of nice to see that.
Marcus,
For sure.
What do you think of Harcourt?
Yeah, they definitely open up a lot in that one scene, and it felt natural. It felt like something that makes sense. John Cena. Peacemaker asks Harcourt a few questions about her origins, which they make it out pretty simple. The standard. She just got involved with military training, then she got into Argus. I thought it was a cool moment. It sets up their relationship just as like sort of friends as team members, right? And I feel like after this scene that I think from this point on they slowly get to like slightly like each other, and I think she begins to understand that although he's still a piece of trash and all, in all reality, there's something more to him that I think that's still kind of tragic.
Yeah, there's a tragic sense to him. But there's a really great and powerful moment in this episode that I thought was good in like a disturbing sort of way, in that the senator shows up and so do the children, and then they're revealed to be what Murn, the team leader, calls butterflies. So they're all butterflies, the senator, the wife, and the two children, and Peacemaker's ordered to kill them, and when he points the gun at the kid, he can't. And it turns out, Stroma, Adrian Chase, Vigilante followed him, and he, sort of puts him aside because Chris starts freaking out. Chris is like, I can't kill them. So Vigilante comes up to him. He's like, hey, bud, you want to move over for a second? And he just gets the sniper. And he starts singing, about Mama Bear and Papa Bear while he's putting each one out. And I thought that was an extremely disturbing scene, but also really well written in the way it shows the dichotomy between Adrian and Chris, Vigilante and Peacemaker. Peacemaker sort of wavering. He's not as what's the word?
He's not as like he's not as heartless as I think he's probably portrayed in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, what'd you guys think of that scene? Because I, for one, I loved it. Like it was.
I thought it's a good combination of like being funny and raunchy and being like, oh, this is kind of like sad for especially even for like Vigilante. Like even though like it just because you can laugh because these kids aren't actually there is too late for them and then they kind of need to be shot, but it does him like being so nonchalant about it kind of tells you he would have done this anyways, even if they looked in the wrong way. And I felt like it's just that weird thing of like, yeah, it's really dark, but it's kind of funny how he's doing it. But also
it's like
the
vibe of the whole show. I think you nailed it perfectly there. Like it's really dark, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's a really good way to break down the show.
There's some really dark moments in this show. What'd you think of this scene, Jacob?
Oh yeah, I really liked it. It really did show how far Peacemaker's come in terms of, is he a psycho maniac superhero / villain person? Absolutely, but he's becoming a better person, and so that's kind of neat to see. where he, like we said before, he used to not hesitate to kill anyone if it was like, quote unquote, the right thing to do. But he's started to change, and he realizes that that's not always the best thing to do. And in this moment, he is questioning his orders. He doesn't know if it's okay to kill these kids, if he's doing the right thing, or if he's just falling back on what he knows. So that was nice to see. It also made me like Vigilante a lot more too, because he didn't go to kill the people just because he wanted to kill the people or he knew he had to kill the people. He was doing it because he saw Peacemaker was struggling with it, and
that's a good point.
Yeah, he knew and Peacemaker is his friend.
He considers Peacemaker his best friend, but
exactly.
Peacemaker doesn't feel the same way, which is a funny part of the relationship.
Yeah, well,
it's a cliche trope, but it's funny.
He's got Eagly, bro. You can't measure up to Eagly.
Yeah, Eagly is Peacemaker's best friend. That's canon.
Absolutely.
Adrian Chase is obsessed with Peacemaker.
Yeah.
But
so
anyways,
I
Vigilante, he shoots the kids, he shoots the wife, he's about to shoot the senator, and then the senator has a bodyguard, judo master. I'm trying to look up who plays him, but he comes in and he fights Vigilante and Peacemaker. What'd you guys think of that fight? What'd you guys think of Judo Master, Marcos?
I really like how visceral it was. It's definitely the continuation of that one fight scene in the first episode, where it's just so intense and this it's so well shot and I think edited. I think as a character they definitely make fun of him because of his height, but how easily he just fights all of them, it's just so funny but it's still really entertaining.
Yeah, he's a really small guy, right? Yeah.
It's not really explained how he even got to that position or what it really has exactly to do with the plot, or what he knows about the butterflies. But it was just entertaining to kind of see how powerful he was, because you knew he was gonna probably kick their ass after them saying how short he was, and he is really short. They have a point, but
he uses their own weight and size against themselves. He sort of crawls around them, just flipping them around with their own body weight, which is I thought. But
also
really
hits
cool
really hard, and every time he hits, he hits really hard, and it's just really fun to watch. And this, I don't know, it's just something that isn't really done in any other superhero show. It's probably because of the mature rating, but I feel like it feels realistic, even though it's not really realistic.
Yeah, all the punches look like they hurt. They look real.
Yeah, it feels brutal.
What you think of Judo Master? Jacob, you know a lot about him from the comics. You're the resident comic expert.
This is one of those moments where it's James Gunn did what he does, and he takes the character, the basic idea of the character, and he does his own take on it in his own version, which again I think works really well for this character. Like I said with Peacemaker and with Vigilante, I don't think anyone was finally a live action judo master. So this was the right move, changing it up, making him this bodyguard. But even though the fights were brutal and he was beating the shit out of everyone, he's it was still kind of a fun character. Where afterwards, after he's beating them down and they take him into the house, and you see Judo Master he's chilling there eating hot Cheetos,
he's always got a bag of hot Cheetos in his hand. When he's not
every
fighting.
time, yeah. When he's going into the house and he was making fun of Peacemaker, just beating him with these hot Cheetos. The character was fun.
Oh yeah, he starts throwing. He beats. By the way, guys, he beats both Vigilante and Peacemaker. He kicks their asses, knocks them out, takes them to the weird butterfly cave. It's like a weird lair underneath the senator's house.
Yeah.
And with them being apprehended, it's up to Harcourt and Murn and Adebayo to find Peacemaker and Vigilante before something happens to them. And Senator Goff, the guy who's a butterfly. He starts torturing Vigilante, trying to get information out of Peacemaker, which is another interesting character moment for both of them. What do you guys think of that whole torture scene and Peacemaker sort of letting Vigilante get tortured and almost get a toe cut off?
It was really funny. The moment he starts torturing him, I was like, why are you gonna... we'd seen clips of it on released already, and where he's like, Are you gonna get any information up? Never. He's like, don't worry, man. I'm not gonna give him anything. As he's literally electrocuting Vigilante, and he's like, could you give him just a little bit of information? That was really fun. And it really just kind of still, like I said, Peacemaker's growing just very slowly, because he still did not give a shit that his friend is being tortured in front of him. He's like, I'm not gonna give you any information, dude. You electrocute him all you want. Meanwhile, Vigilante's just struggling over there, wishing he didn't come.
Yeah.
But it was also kind of a cool moment where the Peacemaker finds out who Vigilante is as he's unmasked, and it was kind of fun to see Vigilante freak out as he's like, "No, you can't know my identity."
Vigilante that was really big on secret identity always has his mask on. It gets taken off, so he starts making a bunch of weird faces so that he can't be identified. Marcos, what do you think of that scene?
I thought it was so funny. I really didn't expect him to do those weird faces, and it kind of made I hated how it kind of made sense. And like, I couldn't really tell it was him.
It's like shit. You're right.
It was so funny. And it's funny because like he is such a big deal that his secret identity, even though it doesn't really matter who he is, because no one really cares.
Yeah, but he also makes a good point because he tells Peacemaker when he meets with him again in the second episode, he's like, "You see, that's why I wear a mask, because you got arrested and I didn't." So technically, Vigilante got off scot-free because he didn't know. But yeah, so Murn and Harcourt and Adebayo are able to use this weird explosive thing to get inside the cave. Or not get inside, but at least provide an explosion so that Peacemaker can get free and he could kill Goff or kill the body that Goff's in. Peacemaker takes a shotgun, puts it in the man's face, and just blows his entire face off. This show is very gory, in case you didn't know, or if you didn't watch it and you're listening to this.
Yeah, and little butterflies. It's a pretty big butterfly, actually. This flies out, and it seems like that's kind of like those are the little antagonists of the show.
It's Project Butterfly is as literal a name as Project Starfish from Suicide Squad.
Which was really funny. Like, Peacemaker made that comment in the first episode. It was like, you guys are really bad at these names. Starfish was a starfish. What is this? A Mothra? It's like, am I gonna fight a Mothra? So butterfly.
Of the episode. Yeah. What do you guys think of that big reveal at the end of this third episode where Peacemaker goes, "Oh, Project Butterfly"?
I think it's cool. I think I already had known this. Like, I think just because I might have leaked. But other than that, it's one of those things. Like, it's unlike Starro in Suicide Squad. I feel like here Starro is kind of well known, even though it's kind of obscure. He's well known. If you know him, like you're a fan, like he's cool, right? Yeah. Here, I have absolutely no clue what these butterflies are and what they mean to like the DC canon. And within the show, they're cool, but like in terms of like what they mean, like it was cool, I guess. But I guess we'll see what it all means behind the why these little butterflies here.
Jacob?
Yeah, same. I can't figure out what comic thing they're expressly supposed to be, or if it's more so an original type story character. But I think it'll really work well in the show. And I like Marcos. I had it spoiled a little bit ago that there were butterflies in this and what it was. So that was a bit of a bummer. But I think it was done well. And if I had not known they were butterflies, the reveal would have been like, oh shit, Peacemaker was right. It's actual butterflies. So that was funny.
I think it might be a case of Gunn doing this. I mean, have this like these little butterflies original creation, and then revealing there's like an actual comic book villain at the end. But
he wrote this during anxiety while in pandemic and COVID. He said he wrote this series not thinking it was going to be actually a thing. So I feel like there's some sort of commentary here about the pandemic, but I'm not smart enough to look more into what we see. But I didn't get it spoiled for me. I didn't get it spoiled for me. So it was pretty crazy far out there for me to see the butterfly come out of the brains of that human who just blew the face off of. And,
but we do get a big comic book, well, not a very big comic book, but a little comic book callback with his father at the end.
Oh yes,
that was episode 2, though, wasn't it?
Oh, we didn't talk about the ending of episode 2. We're slacking it, guys.
That's what the ending was.
The ending of episode 2, Agee Smith getting framed. We talked about this
let's
earlier.
Talk about that to
we're gonna back up a little bit, guys.
Okay. So while all this is happening with Peacemaker and Project Butterfly, meanwhile, unbeknownst to Peacemaker, he doesn't know. The team didn't tell him, "Hey, we framed your father." He doesn't know yet. His father gets arrested by the 2 detectives that have been, on this case. And so while he's in prison, he scares this young black prisoner away from his seat, and all these white guys start bowing down around Peacemaker's dad, doing a weird salute to him. And then we find out that his father is this character known as the White Dragon, sort of white supremacist villain from DC Comics. So
Yeah,
there's
big
that.
neo-Nazi character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, his design is literally taken from the Ku Klux Klan, and it's
Literally.
super clear. It's very
I was like,
clear.
oh shit, okay, this is super not like, you know, he's an evil racist dude, but he's like, oh, he's an evil racist dude. Okay.
Like literally in the same room as Peacemaker's uniform and helmets and equipment, right next to it is just the White Dragon suit there, which is sort of like, I guess a metaphor or something.
It's like, oh shit, okay. And then I like when he was in jail and they were talking, I thought Capes got sent up to like Arkham or Bellevue. I was like, oh snap, who's he supposed to be? And they said the White Dragon. I was like, shit, who's that? I had to look him up. I was like, oh, that's right, the super Nazi character. So that was kind of a neat reveal because I didn't expect that.
This is definitely the darkest father-son relationship James Gunn has ever written. It's pretty messed up.
I mean, Ego was just an evil planet. This guy's just an evil person.
Yeah. James Gunn has an affinity for father-son relationships and weird, gross creatures as seen in Slither, as seen in the Suicide Squad. Kinda in Volume 2 with how Ego works, and now here in Peacemaker with the White Dragon and the butterflies. So these first 3 episodes set up the plot pretty well. They set up what the next remaining 5 episodes are going to be about. Mm-hmm. We know what he's up against. He knows what he's up against. So, any final thoughts on the episode, guys?
I think in terms of the first 3, I'm glad that they released it overall. For on HBO Max, I feel like if they've done like one at a time, I think the first episode would have been strong, but I feel like the second one wouldn't have been as strong as a cliffhanger / like, yeah, a lot of things happened in this episode. I am glad that they like to put all 3 out so that everyone has a good idea what the show's about, especially with the butterflies.
Yeah, I agree. The first 3 act as like a perfect intro, like a mini movie for the whole series, setting up what this show is. It's like, it's about Peacemaker, it's going to deal with everything going on in his life and this team, and like, here's the main plot: he's fighting butterflies. Which was a great way to set this up for the rest of the season.
And I think overall, it's just it's a cool way to like continue the DCEU when like it seems like everything's in shambles. We're kind of like, we get this like on the ground take and like of this universe we've never seen before.
Yeah, and we get some consistency and continuation with the Suicide Squad and now Peacemaker. A little bit of a sense of a continuity starting to develop here with the DCEU.
Yeah. Like where it does reference back on itself and reference other things in the DCU, which is nice to see.
Any cool Easter eggs you want to talk about, guys, before we wrap up? Any cool Easter eggs you may have pointed out or noticed?
I thought that was really cool how the dad is a white supremacist.
That was awesome. That was a subtle reference to racism in America.
All right, boys, we're gonna clip that out of context. That's gonna be our Twitter promotional tweet for this episode.
Oh my God.
So where can our listeners find you guys on Twitter?
Find me at Marcos Melendez V.
You can find me on Twitter at JacobCamp13.
And you can find me at thisis_Ernesto. I'll be writing spoiler reviews for each episode weekly before they come out on HBO Max. New episodes every Thursday. First 3 this Thursday, January 13th. Everybody should watch it. It's a great show. And be sure to follow at Full Circle Cine for all your news, entertainment news, reviews, features, coverage, etc., etc.
Yep, and look, if you want to win a little cookie, put in the comments right now who you think has COVID on this call right now. One of us does.
Oh my God!
If you get the guess right, you get a cookie.
You do? Yeah. Figure it out.
You have to get your cookie yourself, by the way. We can't give it to you because pandemic reasons.
Yeah, we're just allowing you.
We can't give it to you. One of us has COVID. That's a close contact.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.
Peace.
Maker.